may also be the largest file, 700 or 800 megabytes. Let's see. I'm going to, okay. Let me see if I can go share this out on the Facebooks. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I didn't hear from him. If he shows up, let me know. But you know, it's one of these shows where he might feel it's not worth his while to come on, and he's probably right because it's good. Yeah, I hope so. I've been swamped, and I haven't had a chance to arrange people. I got plenty of people here in the Bionics booth, so that's good. Bandwidth has just, as always, been a real issue. For what it's worth, the bandwidth at my hotel, which is next door, the Westgate, fabulous. I've had to do all kinds of work over there, but here in the hall, it's been challenging. By the way, I was, hang on a second. I was here on Saturday before the show opened, and I was getting over a gig download speed on T-Mobile. And but you know, when the hall fills up with people, it's no longer like that. Well, there is Max Connect, and that would probably be helpful. Uh, it's a long story, but I had to leave a lot of things at home this trip because we had literally two tornadoes passed over my neighborhood while I was packing Thursday morning to get to the airport. There were 4 tornado warnings from my neighborhood while I was packing in the hour and a half. The sirens went off 4 times in my neighborhood. We got to the airport and had to drive 10 miles an hour because it was raining so hard. Did that work? And we couldn't fly in the plane we were scheduled to fly in because the rear galley on the plane had 2 inches of water on the floor because somebody had left the door open. So, yeah, it was a challenging trip here. It's in the midst of all that. Oh man, the upload failed again. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. Jeez. Oh, that's why it says the file exceeds the attachment limit. Well, guess what? I guess we won't be uploading the file. We'll have to, well, I hate to insert him later. Is there any other way I could do this? Any other way? How can it exceed the file attachment limit? That must be imposed by Black Magic. That's crazy. I wonder if I could figure out. Oh, it's time to start, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, tell you what. In the last part of the show, probably, I will introduce the video. I'll pause. I'll tell the people watching live the video is going to be added in the published version, and I'll get it to you tonight. Okay, good idea. Thank you. Yes, and it's a good interview too. It's a good interview. All right, so uh, who's first? We're just standing, chatting, having a nice time. Come on, Phil, and we'll get Simeon later. Of course, we could always get him because you can't shut him up.
He's made for TV.
That's right. All right, we're about ready to start, and let's see. Let me go to the right screen here. If I can find it. Where's the correct screen? Oh my goodness. What are we doing? Where in the world did the screen go? Da, 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 da. All right, Kirk. Now, I know I just have too many tabs, don't I? Too many tabs. There's Gemini. There's that. There's that. We're getting there. Hang tight. Oh, there it is. It's the one with the red recording circle on it.
Oh, that'll do it.
That's right. Let's see if we can. Yeah, okay. I'm going to move that right there. A little more safety. Okay, good. Hey, everybody, live on the network. It's Kirk, and let's see. I think, you know what? I think it'd be better if I stood a little closer. That's more complimentary. I look like a weeble back here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are alive, but the show's not started yet.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. But the show's about to start now.
Okay, good.
Let's see.
Highly anticipated.
And you know what? I'm too much in the middle, so I need to try to turn that. There we go. All right. I think that'll be better. Oh, yeah, because let me get rid of the sidebar. Yeah. Oh, okay. Where do I need to stand? More of this? Ah. You know what? I'm going to move that chair out of the way. And that, yeah, let's put that one over there. Yes, folks, you're watching the sausage being made. Okay, and one more uncomfortable thing. I got a pen lodged down in my jacket somewhere. This is all, I'm just stalling because I'm nervous.
You're making me nervous now.
That's right. Oh, I had a Coke. Where'd it go? Okay. I can put it off camera over. No, right over here is better
We don't
anyway.
want any product placement, do we?
Yeah, they're not paying.
There's
By
a fridge
golly.
of it, full of it,
They're not
obviously.
paying. All right. Thank you, Suncast, for putting up with all this nonsense. I appreciate you.
We're having fun.
We are, well, yeah, maybe you are. All right. Take a deep breath, Kirk. It's all going to be okay. It'll all be over in an hour. It's This Week in Radio Tech. We'll start the show in 3, 2. Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to the light bulb at the top of the tower. I'm not near a tower, but there are some of those people
There are light bulbs.
displaying.
Plenty
There are
of
light
them.
bulbs, yeah.
Plenty of them.
I'm Kirk. We're in Las Vegas, Nevada at the NAB 2025 show. We're coming to you live right now. We've got a few pre-recorded interviews because, you know, it's tough to get people to walk 25 minutes from the West Hall over here to the North Hall.
It's the South Hall that's the furthest because the Central Hall is closed this year, so there's a big gap of construction to get down to the south. So I've only made it there once so far, maybe tomorrow.
I'm so glad to get informed of this. I thought it was Central that was open and South that was closed, but no, it's the other way around.
Central's closed, so there's a gap. So you go out and get a Tesla down there, it'll be fine.
You probably wonder who I'm talking with right now. It's Phil Bignell. Hi, Phil.
Hi, you're right.
Tell me, you're with Broadcast Bionics.
Yep, so Broadcast Bionics out the UK. We've been here since Wednesday setting up. It's been, it's quite a time difference.
Yeah.
I'm just about getting there, so by tomorrow when I go to the airport, I'll be spot on.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it'll be fine. And then I go on holiday with my family as soon as I get back. So
Really?
one plane to the other and then off to Crete.
Man, I was going to ask, where are you going? Crete.
Yeah, so I don't know whether I'll be awake or asleep or whatever, but it's going to be fun.
You know, I never thought that people would actually pay to go to Crete because I hear it's full of Cretans. Is that right?
I guess so. It's pretty Greek.
So we're having some fun here. I wish you were here. I've seen so many of my friends here. I made a couple new friends here. We're walking through the hallways, and I'm stopped every 14 steps. Hey, Kirk, how you doing? It's good to see you, man. You know, and it's amazing. You know, this broadcasting business, you know, it ain't perfect, but it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of people to see, as you say. Some great coffee at the Telos booth as well. Been there a few times for a coffee. I've been over to see Frank and sat in his armchair that he's got to demonstrate Deja Vu, which blows your mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. We upset a lot of people with Bohemian Rhapsody, listening to that in 5.1, but it was worth every second. Absolutely amazing.
Okay, friends watching the show, we got several interviews lined up for you already. And we're going to hear from a number of people that you know in the broadcast business. We have an engineer from the Netherlands named Reinier. It's actually, it's not Reiner, it's Reinier. and he's going to be on in a few minutes. We have an engineer, actually a tech support guy from AIR, AIIR, and he's going to be talking about what they're doing and how life is in the whole world of air.com. We also have, we're going to visit with our friends at Broadcasters General Store. So we're talking with, let's see, Travis Tibbett and also with Jonathan Shute. So those are coming up as well. And we'll be visiting with our friends here at Broadcast Bionics. So we're going to take a quick break and hear from an interview I just did about an hour ago from the AIR booth. So let's take a quick break for that. Watch this. It's really an interview, and we'll be right back in a couple minutes. Kirk Harnack, and I'm here in the AIR booth, AIIR. It's spelled funny because, the internet. Hey, David Smedley is here. Hi, David.
Hi, Kirk. How's it going?
It's going great. Normally, you and I talk because I usually have a little problem, and you solve it quickly.
We do.
So you're a senior support specialist.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Right. At AIR, and I'm usually calling you about Playout One because I'm part owner, if you will, of a bunch of Playout One systems.
Yes.
But we're here at NAB, and you probably have a couple other things to talk about as well.
Yeah, two big things we've got at NAB for this year is version 6 of Playout One. So we've given it a whole new look. It's got a whole new feel to it. It's new, it's fresh, it's exciting. And really, the talk of the town is our music scheduler.
Oh, tell me about the music scheduler. Okay.
Yep, it's fully web-based, so no need to install an application on your machine. You just pop into the same place that you would go to edit your website or your mobile app, and it's easy as that, really. It's fresh, it's clean, it's new, and it's going to be available from May the 19th.
One thing that you guys are particularly good at is interfacing with other systems. I know that no matter what RDS system we have, you guys put out metadata to the format for that. It's just great. I would imagine you've taken the same philosophy into your music scheduler. So I've got a database of music, right? How do I'm afraid of the process to get started.
Oh, it's so simple to do. We've got a little wizard, so you can bring it in whether you're coming in from Music Master, if you're coming in from Natural Music, Music One, even if it's just you've got a database file that you want to bring in that's on a CSV file. We've got a little wizard. You run through it, brings all the data in, and you're good to go.
You guys are real friends to the broadcast industry, I'll tell you. And if you don't know about AIR and Playout One and the music scheduler and the streaming service that you're doing,
yes,
and the content management for your website, you need to find out about this. I'm a real believer in what these guys are doing because they're very innovative, and yet they're innovative, and yet you do things that are familiar to broadcasters. So you're not lost in using your software.
Yeah, absolutely. We've all been there. Everybody here has been. We've all been on the other side of things with broadcasters, and we just want to create radio, really.
Yeah, and it works well. Hey, thanks a lot, David Smedley. And, I don't want to talk to you too often because your support, but I'm glad that when I do, it works out.
Absolutely.
That's enough from here, from the AIR booth at NAB 2025. All right. Thanks a lot to our friends at AIR and Playout One and all the things that they're doing. We're live here at the NAB 2025, and I'm in the booth of Broadcast Bionics. Phil Bignell was here for a minute. We got more coming up from Broadcast Bionics. Tell you what, we're going to check out an interview that I did earlier today with a fellow that I've known for quite some time. Rainier is his first name, and he's an engineer, a part owner of a company called Triple Audio. Now, they're a broadcast engineering and integration firm. They really clever folks over in the Netherlands, and they've done a lot. I'll tell you, they've done a lot technically with moving live wire audio over IP packets across town or across the country. They really understand this notion of PIM routing, and I've learned enough about it to realize I don't know how to implement it. But Rainier and his company have done some of this, connecting different radio stations and studios with uncompressed live wire across the Netherlands. So let's take a look right now at that interview with Rainier. At the NAB show, we're talking with Rainier van Maurik. Hi, Rainier.
Yes. Hi, good morning.
I'm well, and you're well?
Yes, I'm very well.
So you do system integration, in the Netherlands?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Some of the radio stations in the Netherlands are pretty advanced in what they want to do, and you've been involved in a project or two that's, wow, cutting edge technology. Tell me what you've been doing.
Well, actually, it was a long, multiple year project where the customer needs to replace their centralized matrix, for that matter, which was based on let's say, legacy technology, and we truly use the IP technology to create similar functionality with a matrix nature, but it's not a matrix, of course. It's a IP only, native IP for that matter.
And when you say matrix, would I think of that as audio routing?
Yes, so there are, let's say, 6 studios, which needs to be arranged or divided across 12 channels.
Okay.
So on each channel, it can have its own commercial players, localized commercial players, and each studio can be assigned to one or multiple studios. And those studios are across the Netherlands in big cities. And each city, for instance, has local telephone numbers. So Amsterdam, Rotterdam is 010 or 020.
Yeah.
And according to the actual routing of the studio, the phone system switches to the local telephone numbers. But if they are transmitting on the national channel, they will use a generic telephone number system. So all the talents no longer have to think of where they are physically, in which studio they are, but they just selecting, or it's automated, which channel they are on and in which area they are transmitting. So it saves a lot of travel costs, and they can pretty easy and choose which show they are hosting. And
Amazing to me, you just said, normally, I mean, we understand audio routing, right? We can send this studio to that transmitter. We get that. You've got a more complicated matrix, but then you also handle the things that are incoming to the studio, like the telephones.
And the now playing information and visual radio stuff going on, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's no longer only audio, but it still has a sort of matrix functionality.
Your matrix, you're routing all the things that have to do with the program that's being produced, no matter where it's being produced from.
Exactly, yes. Wow. And we also involved in this project, we used public leased lines. Yeah. So it's not dark fiber, but it's a guaranteed connection between the big cities. And we use multicast routing to send the live wire channels from one city to the other. And that allows, or that cuts actually all kind of codecs. So the signal integrity is pretty high. Yeah. There is no cross conversion, and it saves a lot of equipment.
I've listened to some radio from the Netherlands, very creative, very high energy on a lot of the channels, and there are some channels that are on YouTube with live broadcasting. Do you have a favorite? Like if somebody wanted a flavor of Netherlands radio, do you have a recommendation?
Oh, that's an interesting question because we have hundreds of stations, of course, maybe thousands even. Well, in terms of, let's say, hit radio, I think the... it's a tricky question, sorry.
Seems like I've run across Q radio.
Q music is one. It's very popular. Yeah. It's one of the highest ranked stations at the moment. Okay. They do a pretty good job actually, and it's also maybe, let's say, typical Dutch, or it's very popular because a lot of people listen to it, of course. And their competitors are like Radio 538, Radio 10, but also the national public radio, Radio 2. So that might be some interesting typical Dutch stations. But actually, the smaller stations can be very creative. So yeah, it opens up also a lot of interesting radio.
Well, years ago when I first started working at Telos, my boss at the time, Denny Sanders, he was into radio all over the world, and he recommended, Kirk, you've got to hear these stations from the Netherlands. This one from Amsterdam, it's crazy. And sure enough, very, very creative. Reinier, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it. Have a good show.
Thank you.
Hey, we're back on This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack. We're live at the NAB 2025. Now, we're in the North Hall, and this is where, well, I mean, all the halls are pretty full, except it was the Central Hall that's kind of under reconstruction. The West Hall, if you haven't been here, the West Hall is, I don't know, like a 45-minute walk to the West Hall. Let me introduce you to a fellow that I've known for a long time, Ian Campbell. Hello, Ian. Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing great. Right. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi to us. Tell me what you do with this AVC group.
Okay, so AVC is a private company. We represent Telos, basically below the equator. Okay? Yeah. So from Dubai to Christchurch is our patch. Uh-huh. I run the Australian business. Yeah. So I look after all the large clients in Australia and try and keep our shareholders in tow.
You know, I've had the chance to go to Australia and meet some of these clients. Mm-hmm. And of course, one of them was Southern Cross Austereo.
Yep.
Are they still going by that name?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They haven't. They tried to get ARN tried to buy them last
Okay.
year.
Okay.
That was fun and games.
Okay. Yeah.
So it didn't happen though.
So I've dealt on a technical basis with a lot of the people at AVC for some years now. You're more in the business management relationship side,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
but you're aware of what's getting sold and what people are interested
Very
in
much.
in Australia, which I got to say is a pretty impressive radio market in technology, in excitement, in the quality of the on-air delivery, the value that your ears and your brain receive for your time spent listening to radio. I think is really good there. What are Australian broadcasters interested in technology-wise these days?
Okay, so the larger groups are moving more and more to centralized. Okay, so using data centers, some of them, some cases AWS, sometimes their own data centers. That drives the mix of products. So I think the last major project we did with Channel 9, 70% of the products they use from us was software.
Okay.
Did it 5 years ago, it'd be the other way around. So the rack space is tiny compared to what it would have been 5 years ago. And of course, the power costs are down, the management is down, all that sort of stuff. So, so getting a distributed supply of product is really important. And it's less costly and easier to manage, as I said. So, that's the process. But it's a pretty big leap. There are other companies who would like to do it, haven't quite got there yet.
Yeah.
So they've got a foot in both camps. They've got some traditional studios, and they've got some that are centralised. And all the products we sell with Telos and also Binox and others are all capable of a distributed system.
Okay.
But getting the client to jump on that is another challenge. So.
You've mentioned Channel 9, and they and other large broadcasters in Australia, they have pretty substantial IT departments, right?
Very much so, and security is a big deal.
Yes.
So when you sign the contracts, one of the persons signing the contract is a security guy. So if he doesn't sign, nobody signs. So security is very, very important. Channel 9 got hacked. I think that's the right word, hacked. Horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They got infiltrated, I think, and they're bruised by that, they're affected by it. So, it's ABC's another large client. Their security, attention to security is very high.
Now, these larger companies with substantial IT departments, and Telos, we have taken a few cues on security from them. Things that they've insisted on because they run our equipment through the gamut of tests, penetration testing they call it,
everything.
pen testing.
The whole thing.
And so we have made some changes and improvements into our own code. One of the things, and you tell me if I'm not in that part of Telos, where we have to guarantee that our code is kept securely, that it's not that our repositories of our source code can't be hacked by others.
That's right, correct. And there's lots of, I don't know how much you know about it, but there's layering of security. Right? So, and you can go very, very deep. We moved Channel 9 from a layer 2 environment to a layer 3. Okay. That means every single piece of equipment has got some security protection. It's got individual IP addresses on every single piece of equipment, which is different to the rest of the world.
Oh, even across the country, they're all different. Okay.
No, but I mean, there's not too many layer 3 environments with Telos equipment around the world. I think there's only 2, one in the US and Channel 9.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've just finished that job.
Now, with larger companies, we've noticed that you get good acceptance of virtualized systems. They're interested in that.
Yes, I am.
But for smaller broadcasters, like me, I'm part owner of 21 stations, and other broadcasters that don't have those IT chops, they're not quickly accepting necessarily of the full virtualized environment. So how has AVC been approaching customers who aren't ready? They don't have the knowledge base of a big IT department. Are they still buying traditional?
We're seeing that change quite quickly. So so the CTOs of this world are all coming out of the IT world with some broadcast experience. But The broadcast skills are definitely needed, but they're not in charge anymore. I'm sorry to say. It's a pretty bad thing to say, I know.
Yeah.
But it's actually true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you look at the mix of products, 70% software, you want an IT guy.
Yeah. So
I mean, we can all do it, right? But is that what you wake up thinking about first? No, it isn't.
no, not first. Thinking about delivery to listeners, we have streaming, we have traditional analog over the air. You have DAB in Australia. What how are people consuming radio these days?
I'm not 100% sure. I'd like, it depends who you ask.
Well, I'm an old guys like you and me.
Yeah, well, I listen to mainly DAB.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I like the quality.
Yeah.
And, I have the radio going when I'm in the garden, and I like to listen to cricket on the radio, not television. The announcers describing the seagulls on the pitch, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, and and the frustration from the bowlers. Particularly the ABC commentary is very good. It's a bit old-fashioned, but you can picture it. You know what I mean? Like that's, to me, that's radio.
Yeah.
I'm not really a music station guy.
Sure.
But, yeah. So there we go. That's what Australia's a good market, good expertise. They're still getting good spot rates there, although they'll never admit it. They are getting good revenues, and they're very inventive and they move fast.
Let's discuss for a concept real quickly. That you mentioned Channel 9 a couple times here, and so is it? Well, let me ask, why is it called Channel 9?
I actually don't know.
Well,
do you know?
I thought it was because they have the same frequency on television in every market that they're in.
I think it's something like that, but I should know the answer, but I don't. But I mean that they've got lots of companies. They own real estate business.
Oh, okay.
Also, but I call them 9, but really the company name is 9 Networks.
Well, your capital cities in each state, right?
That's right.
They are plenty far enough apart where you could have the same TV channel in each one. And
the television business is quite strong.
Yeah.
And most of the people here at the show from Australia are from TV. So a lot of TV people and sports, massive. It's a bit like the US. There's some specialist groups that do sports as well. SEN, the specialist company. So they're a radio company that do TV. Like when I talk about my customers, I say, that one's a radio company that's got a TV. That one's a TV company that does radio. Those guys are just audio. You know what I mean? That's how I describe the client base. So, there's a bit of a mixed bag.
There's one more style of broadcasting that I saw for the first time in Australia, in Sydney, and it was, I think it's referred to as REMI broadcasting, where I was in a radio station, but they had a conference room set up with a nice big table, 4 chairs, 4 headsets, and a huge screen TV. I said, what is this room for? Well, we're doing the play-by-play here. It may have been Australian News Football. I don't know what it was.
It'll be AFL.
AFL? Okay.
Yeah, it will be, yeah.
So, you mean they just watch TV and describe the game? Well, they get a private feed of the game. Tell me a little bit about, because we don't do that so much in the U.S.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I watched the top 4 basketball, or top teams or whatever.
Well, there's Sweet 16 is in
the 4 top
ball.
or top 4 or whatever. I watched some of that the other night. So the commentary all seemed to be coming from the event. Yeah. But yes, there's a lot of secondary players who are describing, and a lot of podcasting.
Okay.
After the event, AFL is a big sport in Australia, as you know, and I think some of the rights management is quite interesting. If you ever look into that.
No,
you should. It's actually AFL own any content that's created around their game.
Yeah.
You're allowed to broadcast it. I think this is right. You're allowed to broadcast it during the game. Afterwards, you need their permission if you're going to reproduce. So, they own. If you take a shot of their game, they own it.
They own it. Oh, wow.
I probably got that wrong, but it's kind of how I understand it.
When the U.S., they always, before every game, any accounts or descriptions of the broadcast, any rebroadcast without written permission is strictly prohibited.
That's it.
Yeah, we do that too. Yeah.
So there's a lot of rights management people on boards around Australia. Yeah.
Ian,
So how's that?
thanks for your time.
No,
I really appreciate spending some time
Good
with
to see
you.
you.
Good to see you too.
Take care.
We are at we're at NAB 2025, and we're going to hear from our friends at Broadcasters General Store. I got a chance to speak with them about 2 hours ago. We're going to let you hear that right now.
We're at Broadcasters General Store here at the NAB 2025 show. Now, these guys are not engineers, and this show is for engineers. However, you guys are like doctors. You have your finger on the pulse of what's going on, right? So let me start with you, Jonathan. What are engineers coming by and asking you about? What's piquing their interest this year in terms of technology?
So this year we've got a lot of different manufacturers in our booth, and you've got people coming by to see just all the things that they can do. We've got Meta Radio that's making middleware for RDS systems. We've got new products from Angry Audio that are just solving problems and providing cost-effective products to help people keep their studios up to date.
I couldn't build studios without that. And by the way, I'm a user of Anthony Eaton's Media Realm metadata products. Yeah, love that stuff.
Yep. USB audio interfaces to just get more audio in and out of computers. Automation systems, transmitters, all the updates that are coming to the transmitter lines, where you've got so many things being built into the air chain with either software or the transmitters just becoming more and more capable to get everything you need done in one box, rather than or using a micro MPX transport to get the audio out to the transmitter site to just keep everything easy.
Travis, more and more people are getting to know you, but a lot of people know your dad, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, he's been doing it for, probably 40 plus years.
Gary.
Yes, Gary Tibbet. Been doing it for 40 plus years. Tried to get him to come out here, but he's like, I'm a little long in the tooth. So
He's old and cranky like me.
Yeah, so he's like, you know what, let's call it done. But, before I started with BGS, I was on the other side of stuff. I was selling the airtime and doing all that. Okay. And then so that's how I was introduced to the equipment early on, through college radio, and then basically been here with BGS for 8 years now, and have gone through the ringer of learning from RF that's just like black magic to some people, all the way to what we're doing on AOIP and what we're doing with Livewire and with WheatNet IP and everything on that end as well. So it's just been a huge learning experience. Learn something new every week.
Now, Jonathan and I pulled you out of a conversation to get you to come and do this interview.
Yes.
So you're talking to engineers all day long here. What are you finding that is their hot button? What are people looking for these days? I know it's a variety, but if you had to focus on a couple things.
Yeah, so I feel like they are focusing on what John was talking about, transmitters that are able to have RDS and Nielsen watermarking and processors as well. Yeah. They want the processor in the transmitter. They want to bundle stuff and save the money where they can, and they're looking for that deal to be able to have a transmitter that has a lot of bells and whistles and stuff like that, so that they're not going out and piecemealing a bunch of different items and have to buy this unit, and so people are looking for kind of a one-off solution, and it doesn't always exist, but people are getting closer to it.
Now, would we ever have a transmitter that had a built-in microphone and some turntables? And you know what transmitter does have a built-in microphone? CB radio. Hey, Jessica.
Yeah, so it's been that it's been a lot of what we've seen lately is a lot of because it still is popular, a lot of work from home stuff. So people are looking for solutions for their on-air staff to be working from home, and they need a reliable, good way to do that, and for it to sound good as well. And also what comes with that is people are getting live on air from their homes, is all the different solutions for codecs as well, whether that be a codec that's inside of a Rodecaster Pro with how popular those have become, or it's your traditional Comrex or Tie-Line codec, and new solutions stuff like Field
Link from Comrex, which is an IFB solution for sideline reporters, and they've come up with a new innovative way to do it using a private Wi-Fi network at the stadium, so you're avoiding the clouded cellular data, which does not work when you've got a crowd of hundreds of thousands of
you got 80,000 people updating their Facebook page during halftime.
codecs have just come such a long way in our, we're using them in the stadiums all the way to people's home offices that it's become a different way to do things. So to get live on air.
So what I have come to know over the years about Broadcasters General Store, and you're one of our sponsors on TWiRT. Thank you for your support there. And we really, it's important that we draw engineers to BGS. One reason is because you guys have just about everything a broadcaster can need, including transmitters, transmission line, cable, connectors, all the accessories to put a studio together, and the big stuff too, whether it's audio consoles, audio processors, microphones, everything you need. It's really a one-stop shopping.
Yeah, and it's my old like kind of cheesy spiel has always been that we sell everything from the connector at the end of that cable to your condenser mic on air, all the way through to the transmission line to that connector that's up, that 1.5" that's up there at the top of your tower on that that Shively ERI or Scala, whatever it may be. We handle all that and everything in between.
The best part is if your order's big enough, Travis will come install it for you, and he'll do your first air shift.
Yeah, well, maybe not the AM sites. It's the AM sites give me a little jittery, but I'll walk around. Yeah. I'll be there.
Jonathan, thank you for this wonderful booth. Thank you for being here and talking to us. Any parting words for our engineer friend?
Just anytime you've got any problems that you've got, give us a call. We're glad to help solve them. We're talking to other engineers all day, and so we're helping solve their problems. And maybe we just got off the phone with someone that had the same thing, and we'll be able to help you out. And
I say it every time I do a commercial for you guys. If you want to go to the website's there, bgs.cc. But you guys are great on phones. If you want to talk to a live person, get some advice, see what's in stock, see what's not in stock. Hey, that's 6 weeks out. You need something sooner? We got something that's 6 days out.
No phone tree.
No phone tree.
Yeah, you're always like 99% of the time you're going to call up. You're going to get somebody who's going to be able to help you right there on the phone, which
Even if it's you can probably help.
I'll do my best.
Exactly. Yep. You will always get a live body. You always get a human, and it will be probably one of us. So,
Jonathan, thank you so much. Travis,
thank you
so much. We're live. Well, we're almost live. Live the tape at the BGS booth here at NAB 2025. Wow. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack, and we are live now. If you're watching us live, we're at the Broadcast Bionics booth here in the North Hall at NAB 2025. And standing with me here is my good friend for a long time. He's been a guest a few times, Doug Irwin. Hi, Doug.
Hey, how are you, Kirk?
I'm great. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Now, who was the lovely lady that stopped by here a minute ago?
My wife.
Yeah.
She
ran off
meandered
somewhere.
off somewhere right now.
Yeah.
She should be watching, but hey, now, of course, the minute we're on, she's not here.
You are an engineer in the LA area, right?
Indeed, yes. Work for iHeart.
And we all know or somewhat aware of what happened in LA a couple months ago with the fires. When was that date, anyway?
It was like January 7th.
Oh, okay.
And I really recall because one of my department members, Maurice Mashuk, his house burned down. He's in Altadena, so he was affected by the Eden fire. So anyway, that's why I remember the date. But we were very lucky because we didn't lose any of our stuff. We essentially remained unaffected. We never lost any airtime. Even though it was very scary, we had no power at the site for almost 2 weeks.
Now, you say the site, you're speaking of?
Mount Wilson. Mount Wilson.
Okay, and how many transmitters do you have there?
We have 4 up there, and then we have 4 in our backup site as well.
Oh, okay. All right. So Mount Wilson, tell me about Mount Wilson. I've driven by it, but I've never been to the mountain.
Well, Mount Wilson is the transmitter site for almost all of the radio and TV stations in LA, with certain exceptions. Like we have another site in Hollywood Hills, but 4 of our 5 FMs are on Mount Wilson, and as I just said, most of the FMs for other companies like Odyssey, Televisa, Univision, Morello. Most of the TVs are up there. I think almost all the TVs are up there as well.
Now, I'm luckily it's for me in my head because I'm not a West Coast guy, so I get Mount Sutro confused with Mount Wilson, and they're very different types of transmitter sites, right?
They're way, way different. Mount Sutro is about 900 feet, I think, in elevation, and it's got a 900-foot tower on top.
Yeah.
Whereas Mount Wilson is 5,700 feet.
Oh, wow.
And so the towers some of the towers are actually pretty tall. Some of the towers are 200 or 300 feet, and then we have another one that's 900 feet.
But at Mount Wilson in LA, you've got a bunch of towers on this mountaintop, right?
Right. It's like a campus. It's like a group of, like a group of about 20 towers. And then 6/10 of a mile west, we have our backup site, which we refer to as Deer Park. It's called Deer Park.
Okay.
And that's where CBS TV is at. I should be careful. I'm pretty sure CBS TV is at. I don't know the tellers. I'm not 100% sure. That's our aux site. We actually took over the old CBS television tower, and we built our aux site there. So we have a full power plus HD aux for all our 4 FMs that are up there. But it was also essentially affected by the fire because it was very close.
Oh. So there's a ton of RF up there, all kinds of broadcast RF. I would imagine there's plenty of IP radio links, licensed, maybe some unlicensed. And do you still have a lot of 950 megahertz STL shops?
We do. We have all kinds of 950 stuff. We have 18 gigs. We've got 11 gigs. We've got 5.8 unlicensed radios, all kinds of stuff up there. And it works fine. It's hard to believe it all keeps working, but it does.
A lot of, but there's frequency coordination going on. Pretty heavy duty, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, there is. Say hi to Howard Fine right there.
I first heard of you a long time ago, and I think you wrote an article about remote control, maybe in Radio World, and this may have been 15 years ago. I don't know, but you talked about how to do remote control well, the importance of doing it right, and so forth. I don't know if that's in your memory banks or not. Talk to me about remote control today. During that fire, did you ever at any time lose remote control? Do you have worries about that?
Absolutely was worried about it. We never lost any of that stuff. We were lucky. Everything rolled all the way through. We had, as I mentioned earlier, we had no power for almost 2 weeks. We had a 36-hour period where the power was back, and then it went out again. And under the guise of the PSPS, which is Public Safety Power Shutdown. Okay. I don't know if you know about that, but that's commonplace in California now.
Yeah.
So almost 2 weeks. So we ran on generator all that time, and that was a little bit nerve-wracking. So we have our one generator for my FM, and then we're on the American Tower generator for our other 3 stations up there. And all their stuff ran perfectly fine. So to answer your question, we never had any issues with it. And yeah, sure, I was worried. Yeah, absolutely worried.
Now, if anything you can't disclose, let me know. But your own STL from your studios to Mount Wilson, what technology is that?
Well, we have 3 different things that we use. We actually have our old legacy 950 stuff.
Oh,
we have
still in place.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have AT&T Metro Ethernet, so 100 megabit connection up there. So layer 2 essentially, and then we have 11 gigahertz licensed radio.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And so we use Gates Air IP links, and we do stream splicing over those last 2 things I just described. The AT&T Metro E and also 11 gig. And we've dropped in. We've actually got another ISP up there called Fireline, which we have as a kind of a backup. And we have Starlink up there now too.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, so we like to have a lot of stuff. We have at least 3 STLs operating available. I mean, unless one of them fails, we have 3 operating all the time, ready to go.
Okay.
So I don't like to sit around because I'm the kind of guy. If one STL fails, now we're down to 1. I don't like that. I like to have 2 still.
Wow. Well, I'm glad. It sounds like you guys came out okay through these fires. But you said you had a program director, a friend who was
a member of engineering.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway,
lost a house.
Absolutely lost his house. Yeah.
Wow. Before we went on, you were telling me about an engineer friend of yours who decided to stay at Mount Wilson. What did he hope to accomplish by staying at Mount Wilson?
He just didn't feel it was really necessary to leave. His name is Dennis Doty. He was down there. He's been through this multiple times, including in 2020.
Yeah.
And he was also down there where they're at is where the fire department basically kind of converges. The CDF converges up there. So he was right in the midst of where all the trucks come up and all the firemen are basically kind of collecting down there. Because what they really do, they don't run around and put out every single fire.
Okay.
Because that's impossible. What they do is they're up there to protect property and so forth and make sure the fire doesn't go across the road and make sure the fire doesn't burn down that way. And they're up there on standby to a very large degree.
Wow.
So that's why Dennis felt it was safe to be up there. And they ended up being right, of course.
Gotcha. And there's living quarters up there, I take it. Comfortable enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Several of the TVs have got living quarters still.
Wow.
That's not the only one.
That's different from where I live. It really is. That's amazing. Doug, thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having
me. I hope to have you back on the show for a whole show sometime. We'll find something to talk about, some technology to share. All right. Thanks again. Take care. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack. We're live at NAB. There's my friend John Shore. Okay. Did you win an award?
Oh yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break for a minute from radio and talk about TV for a second here.
Right.
This is my colleague John Shore of Minnetonka Audio. You started that company, right? Minnetonka?
Yes. Yep.
And a lot of folks know Minnetonka Audio. People know about an old product that was called Fast
Eddie.
Fast Eddie. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What a great. So there's some radio guys that know about that product.
Oh yeah.
But-
Yeah, we had a big radio following.
So John, I've been out of the Telos booth for a couple hours now, getting some interviews. While I was gone, I heard that you won an award and Telos won some awards.
Yeah, we did. We actually won 4 awards.
Really?
Yeah, across all our product line. In the TV space with linear acoustic,
Yeah.
the award that we won was for our new Aero Enterprise. So some people are probably familiar with linear acoustic for the Aero processors that traditionally have been hardware rack mount units. Aero Enterprise is a software enterprise level. So it can be deployed in the cloud, it can be deployed on your on-prem servers, and it can scale up to many, many channels. So it really kind of breaks those bonds that are, in our hardware products.
Let's try to put our radio hat on for a second and think about what an Aero processor does. I know that a number of my friends who are television engineers, they have Aero processors at their TV stations. What sorts of things does a TV processor need to do, and that Aero, that whole line of products is doing for a TV station? Because there's some things that we don't do in radio so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of those things include up mixing, down mixing, watermarking that's specific to TV,
right?
Like Nielsen, Kantar, and there's a lot of routing and signaling that occurs. So, for example, if you're doing a program and then you want to break to commercial, oftentimes that's a different kind of signal processing. And so we can do those kind of changes through SNMP, through other protocols as well. So yeah, that's just an example of some of the kinds of processing that we do, in addition to loudness control, of course. Yeah.
You mentioned up mixing. I guess that's from typically what, stereo to 5.1 or even.
So we have, we can absolutely do 5.1, but now we have immersive up mixing as well, so we can do 5.14, 7.14. The algorithm even can do 9.16 for anybody who cares about that. Yeah.
There's a technology. There's a marketing name that we've given to something called crowd control. We've had that for a while, and that's kind of interesting to a radio guy like me. And I've engineered baseball broadcasts and things like that. Yeah. So crowd control. Tell me what that tech does for TV.
Yeah. So think about it as you're either in the middle of a game or you're post game, and you've got a recorder that goes down on the field to interview some players.
Okay.
Well, oftentimes it's really hard to hear the player or even the announcer with all the crowd noise that's going on.
Oh, because they're typically using a mic, maybe like this one. They don't necessarily have a close talk headset.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we can automatically duck the background, the crowd noise in that situation, so you could actually hear what the person is saying.
You mean, even though it's coming into the same microphone?
Yes.
So we have algorithms that detect what crowd noise is and
we can distinguish between the voice side and the crowd side.
Oh my God. You think working for the company, I'd understand. I thought it was separate mics that were crowd mics that it was controlling, but no.
It's it can really, reduce that crowd ambient side of the whatever's coming in on the mic.
Something I'm finding interesting is in radio, we pride ourselves a lot on audio because that's what we have. That and the entertainment value of whatever's going on and the reliability of the transmission. In television, it used to be that all the audio was through one speaker. And as a child growing up, that was okay with me. That's all we knew. We heard Captain Kangaroo out of one speaker all the time, whether it was Captain Kangaroo or a ball game or Gilligan's Island or the late night horror movie, right? But now in television, the sophistication is pretty dramatic that's available. and I talked with some folks with the Olympics in France.
Right.
And what are some of the technologies capable of these days? A lot of dialogue enhancement or control, right?
Yeah, that's one aspect of it. So that falls under the general heading of personalization.
Okay.
So yeah, things like being able to raise and lower the commentary or the dialogue, independent of what they call the bed, the M&E.
Right.
And so putting that control into the listener's hands is really powerful. Then there's also just the ability with this newer technology to we can simultaneously send a whole bunch of different languages, and then the listener can choose between them. So you're not limited to just like one or two languages to choose from.
And it used to be that if you chose a different language, you might get a different bed mix that wasn't as desirable.
Right.
But
so now
it's different.
Yeah, now it's different because we can send the bed separately
Yeah.
from the dialogue or the commentary. The other thing we can support is audio description. So if you're hard of hearing or visually impaired, there's ways we can use the audio to compensate for that, and the listener can select to choose that. And like you said, we're not diminishing the experience.
Right.
You still get the same bed, same music and effects that you do, whether you're listening to Spanish or French or whatever.
I know this isn't the Consumer Electronics Show, but my last question is: in the viewer's living room, bedroom, wherever they're watching TV, or even earbuds on a portable device, where are we going technology-wise to allow people at home to experience immersive or close to immersive? I mean, all this work is being done at the TV production end. How can we conveniently enjoy that at home without remodeling the living room?
Yeah, there's a few different ways that you can experience it. The cool thing is that the same stream that would be sent to somebody who's got a home theater is the same stream that would go to somebody who's just listening on headphones. And it's at the decoding side that it recognizes that, oh, you're listening on headphones. What's the best way I can render this for the headphone experience?
Yeah.
And depending on the headphones you have, you might be able to get a surround experience from your headphones. And so that's one way. Soundbars are another way to get a surround and immersive experience without, like you said, having to punch holes in your ceiling and upset your spouse.
I get the feeling that soundbar technology is getting pretty sophisticated, and you can put a quality soundbar in and get a somewhat immersive experience, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert on the technology, but I know some of those soundbars will send the sound and reflect it off the ceiling, for example. So that helps with simulating an immersive sound with lots of speakers.
So I know soundbar is about the most work that many consumers will ever possibly be willing to do.
Yes. Yeah. So there's some really good ones out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
John, I thank you for your time and insight. I'm so glad you walked by. I've talked to you more now than in the Telos booth. Yeah. So thank you so very kindly. Congratulations on the prizes, on the awards. All right. Take care. Hey, it's Kirk. We're here at NAB 2025, and you know what? I think it's time, Suncast. I think it's time we take a break. And I know I've done things out of order here, so I apologize for that. I want to see if Dan McQuillan's going to be available soon. Looks like he's. Is he going to be? Dan, are you available for maybe 5 minutes? Well, good. We'll talk to you right now. Let's see. Let me get back to the right screen here. Suncast, thanks for bearing with us here. Good to see you. Thanks for use of the bandwidth and the space.
That's why it's the most expensive thing in Vegas this week. Is 10 megabits per second.
Yeah. And I promise to put the mics back where they go when I'm done.
Thank you.
So thanks. We talked to Phil at the beginning of the show, but what would you like to tell us about technology that you're working on, things that are making life better for broadcasters? What are people asking about? What's on your mind?
I guess I don't know if Phil talked about it, but one of the things that's scaring everybody and we're trying to reassure them about is the whole idea of AI, of artificial intelligence.
I just realized we have to move the camera here for Dan.
We set that to freak mode.
Or maybe we can step back a little bit. There we go. I said, go ahead.
Yeah, so with artificial intelligence, people are terrified that it's going to take their job or become sentient and kill them. And we're trying to say, actually, we have what we call augmented intelligence. We can use this to make smarter tools to give you superpowers. So we're not looking to replace you in the studio.
Yeah.
We're looking to augment you with abilities that, frankly, were just not possible 5 years ago. And so that's really capturing people's imagination as they stop being scared of the technology and start seeing what we can use it to equip you in the studio to make better content, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. So can you give me a concrete example? I know you've had the Bionic Studio, which can surface information about things that you're talking about. Are you speaking of beyond that now?
Yeah, so for example, Bionic Studio has Bionic Social, which is pulling in all your social media feeds to the studio.
Right.
So now we can read all of them for you and summarize them in real time.
Oh.
So instead of you seeing 1,000 messages scrolling past and you have to read the top 5 and guess what your audience is thinking, we just tell you a summary of,
oh my goodness.
So we could say, the TWiRT audience, they're talking about this, this, and this, and here are the best comments and messages. So it's like having a little producer who's reading those thousands of messages for you and running up with a piece of paper that says, here you are, here are the highlights. And so that's the sort of thing which, it's not replacing a person, it's augmenting something where previously that content might be lost or might be really difficult to access. And now we can use technology to do that in a much smarter way.
I'm glad that we can take little examples in our lives and relate to what you just said. Nowadays, you go to Amazon and you go to the reviews, and you can read the individual reviews and read through the bad English and the and people saying, "Oh, yes, it arrived on time. It's the best thing ever." Okay, but how did it work for you? And they summarize. I guess AI summarizes what the reviews say. But some people didn't like the sizing or the color, or they said that the top breaks off easily, right? So you don't have to read through 900 reviews. And so you're doing the same thing with social response.
So we're saying AI is, we don't use the word artificial and we don't talk about generative, because broadcasters, there are rights issues about generative. You never know what it's going to say. But what it's really good at is summarization, topic detection, segmentation, all these kind of tasks, which the dirty secret of radio is 90% process and about 10% creativity.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me that most people have leaped to saying, why don't we get a robot to replace the 10% of creativity? I'm going, no. Let's use the robot on the 90%.
Yes.
The background tasks that nobody sees, nobody cares about. We can do them faster and better than ever before, like summarization, topic detection, segmentation. So that's what Bionic Scribe does. So we do it for your social media. We do it. One of the simple things that really makes customers happy is a lot of the ways now engagement happens is via voice notes being sent to WhatsApp.
Really? Now, I heard that. Now, my wife and I use WhatsApp because everybody in Latin America uses WhatsApp, apparently. But voice notes, we don't do that much. That's a thing, though, huh?
For us in studios, it's really frustrating trying to get people to call, but they will leave a voice note.
Oh.
A voice note's actually quite easy to use on air because it's personal, it's their voice, but you know the energy, you know they're not going to suddenly say something, so you don't need profanity delay.
Right.
And we get probably 80% of the interaction to most talk shows now for us in the UK is coming through voice notes and video.
Okay.
But they're annoying to screen because you get all these messages and some of them are silent and some of them are unusable. Yeah. So we just transcribe all of those for you, which makes them searchable, which makes them readable before you even get to them. So it's just that sort of technology of saying, why don't we take things that are frustrating problems for the human in the studio and use some intelligence to make that easier to work with. So now they become, again, they're part of that summary, they're searchable, and they're readable so you can get to that content faster. So instead of losing that good quality content, you're able to surface it and come to it quickly. And then we can use AI to do speech enhancement and noise removal. Because for some reason, people who send WhatsApp messages to radio stations do it by shouting from the other side of a moving vehicle. So now we've done two things with AI. We've discovered content that otherwise would have been lost.
Yeah.
And then we've salvaged content that otherwise would have been unusable by improving the content quality and making something that was great but unbroadcastable broadcastable. And that to me is augmented intelligence. It says we're going to take something that previously would have been too hard or too time consuming to do, empower you to do it, so you will end up with better content.
Got time to talk about one more thing. And, at my employer, TELOS, we've been bringing out virtualized products. And I was speaking earlier with Ian Campbell about how large broadcasters with big IT departments, that they get this pretty quickly. And in fact, they even tell us, oh, we love this, except you need to do this and this to make it better or more secure. On the other hand of the spectrum, you've got broadcasters the size of my radio stations or smaller, no IT people, or maybe an occasional guy that comes in, and they're totally uncomfortable with providing their own server and putting their own, even though Telos will remotely do that for them. You have a solution that kind of bridges that gap. That maybe the biggest companies are using your solution, but they have their own IT people, and the small companies they don't know what to do. So you've got this thing called virtual rack that seems it fits a big happy middle in the virtualization space. Have I got that a little bit right?
You have got that right.
Okay.
And actually what was weird for us is we thought we were targeting that at the low to mid end. And in fact, it's been bought at scale by some of the world's biggest broadcasters, which
really?
we thought they would want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And they've gone, no, this is quite difficult. We'll do it. But we want to put the message out there that it doesn't need to be hard to use containers. So we looked at containers and went, this is a brilliant technology.
Okay.
A little bit like Axia Livewire, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant, but you have to make it magical. You don't talk about multicast when you talk about Livewire, you just have a channel number. So we wanted to take containers, and we never mention containers, we never mention Linux. We just say, hey, you can just buy an appliance, not a server, but it is a server, it's an appliance.
Right.
You never see Linux, you never see a command line, you never see Docker. Right. What you see is a virtual rack, because that's what you as the engineer want. You don't want a problem, you want us to solve that for you with an elegant solution.
Yeah.
So it gives you a virtual rack, just like your physical rack. You can buy small ones and big ones, just like you can buy a half-height rack or a full-height rack. And into that, you can plug all of these different components or applications, as we call them, from a whole range of different vendors. And what's exciting now, after we've been doing that for a few years, is we now have every part of your air chain, from the mic processor to the final FM transmitter, from codecs and gateways to everything that you might need. So This is not just about building a box of codecs or a box of something else. This can be mic processor in, Altus mixer, Zephyr Connect bringing all your codecs and remote contribution in, go out to your Forza FM final processor. And that might be your primary air chain. It might be your backup air chain.
Sure.
But that can all be done in, I'm going to say all in one box, which is going to scare people, because what if the box goes bang? Yeah. Then what Virtual Rack also does is allow you to synchronize two appliances together. So if there's a problem with one of those primaries, it simply fails over to the backup. So hopefully it simplifies and demystifies a technology that can be incredibly empowering, but really hasn't been very accessible until now.
Empowering, but hasn't been accessible, but now it is.
Yeah. And that then will allow people to leverage the benefits. So you guys and Telos started it with empowering people to use IP. And in one sense, I think broadcasters say, that's it, we've embraced the IT world and all the benefits of IT, just because, no, that's only a small part of what's possible. Yeah. So if you look at what's possible using virtualization, using some of these technologies, the good news is that there's a lot more benefit to be had by moving fully towards some of these data center and hyperscale technologies, which are readily available, and let us take that benefit of being in the IP and the computer world, but take it to the next level. And containers are just the start of that, for sure.
Wow. All right. Dan, thank you so much for your time. Always enlightening and encouraging to hear you talk about these technologies. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks again to Broadcast Bionics for letting us use their booth and their bandwidth here, because bandwidth is expensive here at the NAB show. You know what? Here's a programming note for you. Let's see. How will I do this? Oh, yeah. Okay. We got a chance to talk with an amazing engineer. You know him, you love him if you've watched our show before, and that's Robert Combs. Robert Combs is an engineer with Cumulus. Is he the director of engineering at Cumulus now? Got some nice big title at Cumulus. I got to talk to Robert, and we're going to hear that interview right now, except we're not going to hear the interview right now. We got a little cloud problem. Actually, it's a bandwidth problem. So this part where I'm talking right now, this is going to be cut out. And Suncast is going to put the Robert Combs interview into the published version that it'll be available tomorrow. So that takes care of Robert Combs, and we'll come back from Robert. And let me make sure I'm ready to go with the next part here. I still need to do a spot for Angry Audio and for Max Connect. So let's do that, and then we'll wrap things up. Let's see. We're cutting all this out, so hang on a second. Okay, we've taken care of all the other interviews. All right, so we're going to come out of Robert Combs in 3, 2. Always love talking to Robert Combs. He's terrific, and man, it's great to run into Robert anywhere, whether it's at a transmitter site in Huntsville or whether it's here at the NAB show in Las Vegas. I'm Kirk Harnack, and right now we're going to take a quick break and talk about two sponsors. One of those is Angry Audio. Angry Audio and their Rave Audio Console. The Rave Audio Console, I'm going to tell you, positively amazing little console. It's an analog console, doesn't have any IP in it. I know that's a break from what we often talk about, but if you just need an analog console that's going to last you for years and years, probably beyond the end of your career in radio, I'm going to tell you, this thing is well built. The Rave console has 4 mic inputs, 2 stereo mix buses. It's got 2 mix minus outputs with talkback, flexible monitoring section, and output for studio guests with talkback to the studio guest. Great looking metering, easy to see from across the room. Of course, you can preview every input. And long life components. Mike Dosh, he is an expert at specifying and getting just the right parts and putting them together to make a long-lasting piece of broadcast gear. Just an amazing little console. By the way, watch this space for some information on a larger version of the Rave console. But if this is what you need, and it probably is, grab it. Great for podcast studios, voiceover studios, great for production rooms, may even be good for your on-air room. I don't know. You know. Check it out from Angry Audio. Their website is angryaudio.com, and you can get this console, get your best price from any of their dealers. I recommend Broadcasters General Store, BGS at bgs.cc. And I want to tell you about another sponsor, and that is Max Connect. And Max Connect, they do a lot of things. We've talked for quite a few years now about their wireless offerings. So you can get prioritized 4G data that you don't have to compete with the other people in the area. Like here on the convention floor, you get your own 4G. And you know what? I might be using that right now, except I left it at home. That's a long story. We do use Max Connect at transmitter sites. It's great for remote broadcasts. But that's not all that Max Connect does. Max Connect, this is Josh Bone and his company. They also run an integration company. And if you need a studio built, if you need a transmitter site built or rebuilt, you need a better remote control implementation. Plenty of broadcasters these days have an old remote control, barely works, doesn't work anymore at all, whatever. They can implement for you a sophisticated and very automatic remote control system. If you want new studios, and hey, just today, I got Josh Bone connected with a client, some friends of mine in Alabama, for building them 5 new studios on their university campus. Looks like that's going to happen. Josh is going to do that. Also, Max Connect has built studios in other cities, some really nice studios and small mom and pop station studios like mine. So Max Connect does a lot of things. They also have designed a product, we've talked about it, the U.192. The U192 is a USB connected, very special sound card device. It's meant to be used with a computer that's running one of these FM audio processors. FM audio processor. And how do you get the multiplex signal out? Well, you can kind of do it with a sound card that'll do 192 kilohertz sampling, but there's no sound card that's designed to do this, except for the U.192 from Max Connect. In fact, it was designed, the case, the electronics, the software, everything was designed by Mike Dosh at Angry Audio. So it's very well built. It just sits there and runs and runs and runs. It's what we call class compliant for plugging into the USB port on a computer. And that means you plug it in and it'll just work. You don't have to install any extra drivers. And the U192 can be your device for audio into the computer, analog or AES EBU, and it can be the device that gives you multiplex output on a BNC connector. And you can run this over to your FM exciter or to your, say, your 950 megahertz analog STL system. It's all letting you run an FM processor like Omnia SST or Stereo Tool or Breakaway One. You can run that on a local Windows computer. So check it out. Love this stuff from Max Connect. The website's maxconnect, I know it's spelled funny.com. I'm Kirk Harnack here at the NAB show for 2025. And we're ready to wrap it up. I want to thank the people who have made this possible. My employer, Telos Alliance. Thank you very much, Telos, for giving me some time off at the show. I got to get back to the booth and see some customers. And also, I want to congratulate my employer, Telos Alliance, on 4 industry awards this year for 4 products. And I'm just delighted about that. Big thanks to my friends at Broadcast Bionics as well for the space here and for the bandwidth. We got to go. We got more good shows coming up for you this summer. I've been talking to engineers here at NAB, getting them lined up for future shows, being guests here, trying to bring information to you to learn about how to do our jobs better, implement new technologies, do things that just make our jobs easier and make our broadcast stations more reliable. We'll see you next week. Oh, a big thanks to Suncast, too, for working through all this changing schedule. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.